Spring 2026 is shaping up to be a stacked season, and one of the anime I'm most curious about just dropped its first trailer, confirmed its staff, and locked in a release date. Kanan-sama wa Akamad Koroi, officially titled in English as Mistress Kanan is Devilishly Easy, is a romantic comedy that's been quietly building a fanbase since it started running in Weekly Shonen magazine back in 2022. And now it's getting the anime treatment. Today we're going through everything. What the trailer showed, who's making it, what the manga is actually about for anyone who hasn't heard of it, why the central dynamic works so well, and what to realistically expect when April rolls around. Let's get into it. What is Kanan-sama wa Akamad Koroi? First, the basics for anyone coming in fresh. Kanan-sama wa Akamad Koroi is a romantic comedy manga by author Nanko, serialized in Kodansha's Weekly Shonen magazine since June 2022. As of 2025, there are 10 collected volumes published in Japan, and 7 Seas Entertainment announced the English license, with the first volume scheduled for July 2026, right in line with the anime's release window. The premise is simple, but the execution is what makes it work. A demon infiltrates a human school to harvest souls, sets her sights on a specific student, and then everything completely falls apart, just not in the way she planned. This isn't a horror story. It's not a supernatural action series. It's a rom-com with a fantasy twist, a lot of humor, and a central dynamic that became the main draw of the whole series. The story, what it's actually about. Kanan Takekiyo, real name Kanan Zeeble, is the daughter of an archdemon from the demon realm. She's infiltrated Anu Academy in Tama with a straightforward mission: fatten up the students' souls, let them ripen, and then devour them. To do that, she took the position of head of the school's Public Morals Committee because there's no better way to keep students' souls pure and well-seasoned than monitoring their behavior constantly. In her human form, Kanan is known as the most beautiful girl in school. Athletic, popular, respected. The horns are hidden disguised as braids in her hair. Nobody suspects a thing. One day, she decides it's time to act. She summons a student named Yoji Kyogi to her room, reveals her true identity, and announces that she's going to devour him. Kyogi hears all of this, gets excited, says he's always dreamed of being devoured by a sexy demon, says he's completely at her disposal, that he's fallen in love with her, that she can do whatever she wants with him. And this is where Kanan completely freezes, because the problem is that she's never actually devoured a soul in her life. She's inexperienced. She has absolutely no idea how to handle a human who reacts like this. She came in with a serious mission and ran into a guy who, instead of reacting with fear, reacted with total enthusiasm, and who, to make things even worse, is completely assertive, relentlessly positive, and genuinely in love. The solution Kanan lands on, without quite knowing how she got there, is to agree to date Kyogi. She'll devour him later, when she's ready. It's a temporary arrangement. It is not. From there, the manga's central loop kicks in. Kanan tries to act like a scary and intimidating demon. Kyogi interprets every single thing she does as a sign of affection and falls even harder. And Kanan, who has never experienced romance before, gets gradually won over without realizing it. The characters, beyond the main couple, the series doesn't live and die on just the central couple, and 2 supporting characters are especially important to the overall tone. Ami is Kanan's personal attendant, also a demon, who follows her mistress's mission from a distance and frequently watches the situation unfold with a mix of loyalty and barely contained despair. She serves as the more grounded counterpoint to Kanan's chaotic energy. Jean is arguably the second most important character in the series from a comedy standpoint. She's an apostle of God sent from the celestial realm, because heaven noticed there was a demon operating in a human school and decided to do something about it. The problem is that Jean is extremely clumsy, has no practical competence as a heavenly agent, and ends up being more of an additional chaos element in Kanan's daily life than any kind of real threat. What the manga does interestingly with Jean is show that heaven isn't necessarily the luminous place it appears to be. Saints are treated poorly, work under exhausting conditions, and receive minimal support. Jean spent time living under a bridge in a cardboard house. It's a comedic contrast that has more layers than it first seemed. There's also Kanan's mother, Lil Lum, who's introduced later and brings a new dimension to the demon family, including an arc involving her approving Kyogi as her daughter's boyfriend that results in some of the funniest scenes in the whole series. And as the story progresses, Kyogi's circle of people who genuinely care about him grows. The guy has an inexplicable talent for winning over people around him, including characters who were initially hostile to him. Why it works. The central dynamic. The comedy in Kanan-sama works because of a very specific and very well-executed subversion of expectation. The surface-level premise might suggest a story where the human is the victim and the demon is the threat. But the manga immediately flips that and maintains the flip as the central engine of the whole series. Kanan is the character who is constantly out of control of the situation, always being caught off guard, always reacting with embarrassment or confusion to things Kyogi says or does with complete ease. Kyogi isn't a passive or charmless protagonist. He's assertive, genuine, and completely unshakable. It's not that he's naive. He understands the situation. He just doesn't have any problem with it. And that posture transforms every attempt Kanan makes to be threatening or intimidating into something he reads as affection. The result is that the character who ends up being emotionally defeated at every turn isn't the human who was supposed to be prey, it's the demon who came to hunt. And the manga explores that dynamic with consistency and creativity across all its volumes. It's a light story. No heavy drama, no tragic twists. The focus is on the humor of the situation and the gradual development of a genuine relationship between two characters who arrived at it through completely unexpected paths. The trailer, what was shown? The first trailer dropped in October 2025 and already delivers a strong sense of the series' tone. Visually, the trailer presents both protagonists in action. Kanan with her impeccable student appearance and her moments of complete composure breakdown whenever Kyogi opens his mouth, and Kyogi with that total equanimity energy that defines the character. The trailer's visual palette is vibrant, with heavy emphasis on red and cyan, the signature colors of Kanan's design. The trailer also introduces the opening theme, Hatsukoi Moment, which translates roughly as First Love Moment, performed by the group Falyu, and the ending theme, Pop, Snack, Junk Na Honey, handled by the group Eijirai High School. The opening has a pop energy and lightness that matches the series' tone perfectly. Beyond the main couple, the trailer already gives visual hints of Ami and Jin's presence, confirming that the supporting cast will be there from the start. The cast, confirmed voice actors. The main cast is strong, and both confirmed names are very fitting choices. Kanan is voiced by Aoi Koga. If that name isn't immediately familiar, the roles will sort that out. She's the voice of Kagaya in Kaguya-sama, Love is War. Not Chika, Kagaya herself, the main lead. She also voiced Komi in Komi Can't Communicate and Yaforger in Spy X Family. 3 high-profile rom-coms, 3 female leads, 3 memorable performances. Casting Aoi Koga as Kanan makes immediate sense when you think about the character's profile. A girl who needs to balance a facade of authority and competence with frequent moments of total emotional disorientation. That's a register Koga has proven she can navigate with precision. Yoji Kyogi is voiced by Saikiro Yamashita, known for voicing Takemiki in Tokyo Revengers and Ryusei in Shine Post. Yamashita has a vocal quality that conveys warmth and sincerity without apparent effort, which pairs perfectly with a character whose defining trait is exactly that kind of constant, unshakable, affectionate presence. The two of them together form a vocal duo that has everything it takes to capture the comedic rhythm and the emotional development the manga built over years of chapters. The staff, who's making it. The anime is produced by Studio KAI. If the studio name doesn't ring a bell immediately, the credits provide context. They made Uma Musume Pretty Derby's first season, Fudo Tanti, the Kamen Rider W adaptation, and Super Cub, varied projects across different tones, which shows a studio capable of shifting between styles. Direction is handled by Yasushi Miroya, with episode credits on Bastard, Heavy Metal, Dark Fantasy Dash, Blue Lock, and Fairy Tale. For a romantic comedy with fantasy elements, Miroya brings familiarity with comedic pacing and the visual language of the genre. Assistant direction goes to Hisashi Isagawa, who worked on Super Cub and Tomo-chan is a Girl, 2 comedies with distinct female characters, which is directly relevant to Kanan's tone. Series composition is by Rintaro Ikeda, who handled the scripts for Kimi wa Hokugo Insomnia. Ikeda has experience with stories that blend everyday life and genuine feelings without forcing the drama. That's exactly the kind of sensibility Kanan-sama needs, someone who understands when to let the comedy breathe and when to let the emotional moments land. Character design is by Akari Minagawa. The score is composed by Shuhei Mitsuki, who did the soundtrack for Lycoris Recoil and To Be a Hero X. Lycoris Recoil in particular had a score that balanced lightness, action, and emotion really well, exactly the kind of balance Kanan-sama is going to need. Overall, this is a staff without massive marquee names at the top, but with a track record that's coherent with the type of anime they're adapting. It's not a production backed by a giant studio's weight, but it has the technical competence and genre affinity that matter more here. What to expect from the adaptation? With 10 manga volumes published as of now, there's more than enough material for a 12 to 13 episode season that comfortably covers the early arcs and establishes the characters properly. The manga's pacing is episodic with gradual emotional progression. Each chapter tends to have a specific situation that serves both as a joke and as a step in the relationship's development. That format is favorable for anime adaptation because each episode can have a satisfying beginning, middle, and end without relying on cliffhangers. What's going to determine the quality of the adaptation is primarily the director's and the team's ability to nail comedic timing in capturing Kanan's reaction. A huge portion of the manga's humor lives in micro-moments. An expression at the wrong second, a pause before a line, the gap between what Kanan says and what she's clearly feeling. That's territory where well-executed animation can elevate the material significantly above the static version. With Aoi Koga in the lead and a scriptwriter who has a feel for grounded emotional stories, the conditions are right for the adaptation to deliver what the manga built. This isn't a series that needs spectacular action animation or breathtaking battles. It needs emotional precision and well-executed comedy, and that's a bar the assembled staff has the capacity to clear. Release date and where to watch. Kanan-sama wa Akamad Koroi premieres April 5, 2026 on Tokyo MX and BS11 in Japan. Crunchyroll has confirmed a simulcast, which means it'll be available internationally the same week it airs in Japan. For anyone who wants to get ahead on the manga before April, 7 Seas Entertainment has the English license, with the first volume dropping in July 2026, so the timing lines up well for anyone who wants to follow both. Conclusion. Kanan-sama wa Akamad Koroi is one of the more interesting romantic comedies coming out of spring 2026, and with the trailer, staff, cast, and date all confirmed, the full picture is in place. An inexperienced demon, a completely unshakable human, a demon attendant trying to maintain her sanity, a disaster of a heavenly apostle living under a bridge, and a story about a first love that shows up from the last direction anyone expected. If you're into romantic comedies with personality, this one should be on your April watch list. If this video helped you out, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments, were you already following the manga, or is this your first time hearing about it? I want to know. See you in the next one.